let's take a look now at XpertMart's security system. XpertMart gives the user an impressive amount of flexibility in defining the security levels and the permissions associated with each security level. You can literally define n number of security levels. There's no limit, like in other systems, where you can only assign 3 or 4 or 5 security levels. Here you can assign as many as you want. There are 4 steps to the security process. The first step is to add a new employee to your employees catalog. Now every employee needs to be in the employees catalog because every time a transaction is made in XpertMart, someone has to log in as an employee, because every document, be it an invoice, a receipt, a purchase order, or an outslip, every document has to have the employee who did that. Once you log in, then XpertMart automatically assigns that employee to every document that they do. And of course it also has the date and the time, so that we can always do an audit of who has been doing which documents. So whenever we have a new employee, or if we're starting off from scratch, we have to add that employee to our employee catalog. So let's do that now. Let's add a few employees. We need the essential information we need for an employee at a bare minimum are a employee number, a login, and a password, and then of course their name. So let's add the employee Mary Johnson. Now we can also add an employee photo if it's a very large company and we have trouble keeping track of who's who. We can do that just as we added a photo, for example, in our styles catalog. We can have the address of the employee, notes that we have associated with that employee, a tax ID, and interestingly enough, we can have an email. We can say this is Mary at XpertMart. And that is for XpertMart's integrated email system, which we'll see later on. But if you log in as an employee, then it uses the email in the employee catalog as the return address automatically when you create an email. So we've added Mary Johnson. Let's save that. Let's add a new employee. Let's add, and we'll use employee number and login and password all the same to keep it simple. Let's add the employee Matt Andrews, and let's add the employee 999 Oscar Molina. Okay, once we've added the new employees, that's step 1, we now need to add a security group, or see which security groups we already have. If we go into our configure menu and we go to configure security, it opens up Expert Security Manager. And here we can see the groups that have already been created or already exist, the security groups. Each one of these groups then has certain permissions and access levels. We have so far the group accounting, the group cashiers, group general managers, marketing, and so on. Let's create a new group, and let's call this the group warehouse. Okay, once we have the group, then the third step is to assign employees to a given group. On the left I can see all of the employees that have not yet been assigned to a group, and on the right all of the different security groups. So let's take Mary Johnson and let's add her to systems, and let's take Matt Andrews and we can add him to the cashiers group. Now if I make a mistake or change my mind, I can just come back here, unassign those employees, and say no, Matt is also going to belong to systems and Oscar is going to belong to the warehouse group. Once I've created an employee, I've created a group, and I've assigned an employee to a group, the final step is to assign certain permissions to each security group. Now, if I come to this menu right here, I can pick a security group, for example, the security group systems. And on the right in this window here are every single module that are part of XpertMart. There's more than 90 of these. There's every module from, obviously, transaction sales to transaction cost adjustments. There's synchronization, initialized catalogs. These are just examples of all the different modules that exist. There's my reports, my style reports. I can come up and see I've got my process calculate minimums. You get the idea. Every single module in the system is in this window, and so for every one of these modules, I can assign any or all of these 8 permissions down here. I can say whether the user can use this module, whether they can add new registers or make changes, whether they can make global or massive changes, whether they can see costs, whether they can edit, whether they can delete, add discounts, run reports, and so on. So if I want, I can have a very customized security system where for each group I can go module by module and decide what permissions they can use. Now, of course, I can also, if I want my systems group, for example, to have every permission possible, I can also group these, take a big group, select them all there, and with this button, I can choose to select all, and then I apply those permissions, and those permissions are being written in now. The systems group will have every permission. Let's go to warehouse, and let's do something a little bit different. Let's first of all assign every permission possible to this group. And then let's come back and just to show off how the security system works, let's take all of our client catalogs. So that's from client actions to clients. Let's take those and let's unassign those permissions and apply those changes. So the warehouse group will have every permission available to them except for the client's catalog. Okay, so now let's see how it works. Every time you come into XpertMart, you have to do a login. We can go to the File menu and open our login screen. And let's log in as Mary Johnson, which if you recall was 333. Now that I'm Mary, I have every permission open to me. I can open my vendor's catalog if I'd like, or I can open my client's catalog. Now, if I want to switch users, if, for example, I'm at the store and I'm the manager and I walk into a store and a cashier is using the system and I have obviously more permissions than that cashier, I can come in and I can log in and I can switch and I can say, okay, I am now going to be this employee. And we just logged in as Oscar, who belongs to the warehouse group. Now recall that the warehouse group has every permission available to them. Open up the styles catalog there. Has every permission available to them except they can't open any of the client's catalog. And this is what happens when they try. They get a notice from XpertMart saying you do not have permission to do this. Now, part of the security system is also a safeguard where if you are a manager and in the example we gave and you are finished using XpertMart, when you go back to the login screen, the moment you do this, your old permissions have been wiped out. So if an employee can't game the system thinking, oh, he forgot to, if I just cancel out the screen here, I'll still have their old permissions. We'll see that that's not the case. If I come in, it says you do not have permission. Once I come to the login screen and I press login like that, I've wiped out all the previous permissions and an employee has to do a new one. Also, if I don't log in, if I choose not to log in, I cannot do any transactions. For example, if I want to do a purchase order, it won't let me do any transactions. If I'm at in a store, I cannot make a sale if I haven't logged in. So that's a quick overview of XpertMart security system.